Assalamu alaikum class. Today we will revise data analysis for randomized control trials.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this was my paper which I published in 2018 और इसका background ये है कि we wanted to see if montelukast can be a drug which prevents dengue shock syndrome in dengue patients, ठीक है, because it stabilizes platelets. So in this research, there were two groups who were admitted with severe dengue in the ward, and out of these 200, 100 were given, in addition to their regular treatment, 10 milligrams of montelukast per day, and the other one was just given your random treatment. And after that, we got the results and we calculated the risk of getting dengue shock syndrome in patients who were not treated with montelukast in order to detect the effectivity of this treatment. And then we calculate, or on the other hand, we can say the probability of not falling into shock syndrome if you are being treated with montelukast. And then we calculated numbers needed to treat. So I thought, in order to show you effectively how we analyze such data, I will show you my SPSS, original SPSS data, and then we will do the risk calculation and numbers needed to treat. What I want to show here is how to document the results. So here, this paragraph, can you see my pointer? Okay, over here, it says that a total of 40 patients out of 200 developed dengue shock syndrome. And in the experimental event rate means the prevalence of or the incidence of shock syndrome in the group which was being given the experiment, or in this case, the treatment. So in the treatment group, 9 out of 100 patients developed shock syndrome, and in the control group, 31 out of 100 patients developed shock syndrome. So we got these two figures. Now, remember when we discussed calculation of absolute risk, and we discussed that relative frequency is the absolute risk. So the absolute risk of developing shock syndrome in the control group would be 31%. 31 over 100 is 31%. And the absolute risk of developing shock syndrome in the group treated with montelukast was 9%. So the data for this is shown in the SPSS. I'll do that sharing again. Okay. So this is the data. I just want to show you that how we calculate these things using SPSS. So these are the variables. We have age, gender, we took serial WBC counts, platelet counts, but what we are interested in right now are these two variables. One is montelukast. I have named it montelukast, but it shows 0 means the control group not getting any montelukast and group 1 getting the montelukast, okay? And then we have DSS, which I've labeled DSS, this variable, and 0 means did not develop DSS, dengue shock syndrome, and 1 means did develop dengue shock syndrome. And these are obviously binary variables and they are nominal, yes or no answers. So it is these two variables with which we will calculate risk and then numbers needed to treat. So I'll go to analyze. Everybody with me? Analyze.
Yes, ma'am.
And then over here in descriptive stat, you have cross tabs. Go to cross tabs. Okay, and then remember over here we have to be careful. I told you that in cohort, we make the groups according to risk. And so the columns would be of risk, risk without risk. Whereas in case control, we divide the groups into outcome, the risk, which is treatment, or exposure, which is treat. So column में patient groups हो जाएंगे, because we are dividing according to exposure या risk, and row में हमारा outcome होगा, which is in this case is developmental. अच्छा, आप अब आए स्टैटिस्टिक्स पे. इसके अंदर आप chi-square भी कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं, लेकिन इस वक्त I'll simply focus on calculating risk. So I'll click risk over here and continue. Or if I wanted bar charts, I would do that, but abhi I'm just focused on what we're trying to do. This is actually demonstrating what I was saying. If there's a cohort or a randomized control trial, because these are prospective studies and we want to calculate risk from a 2x2 table. In that case, the division of the groups is according to exposure or risk, right? For example, that in this case, the exposure is Monteculast and the outcome is the development of dengue shock syndrome. So the columns will be according to risk. So we have this column, which is the control group. It does not have the exposure of Montelukast or the treatment of Montelukast. And over here, we have the column with the exposure or the treatment. And in the rows, we will put outcomes. So patients did not develop the outcome, i.e. did not develop dengue shock syndrome, and lower row is of the patients who did develop dengue shock syndrome. This. Okay. Now, obviously, like I mentioned before, SPSS is a computational program. It will give you results, whatever you put in it, but it's up to us to be able to utilize those results and interpret them. So it has calculated odds ratio. It doesn't know what kind of study design we have. So we will ignore for our purposes the odds ratio bit, because this is not a case control study. We did not enter the data as in the case control data. If this was a case control study, I would have put the outcome in the columns, right? So we'll ignore the odds ratio. This second and third statement, look at that. This is about risk. So for cohort patient groups, which is the control group, and for Montelukast, the risk, they have this, and this over here is not calculating absolute risk. Absolute risk is simple because I said it's just a relative frequency. Can be calculated directly from this descriptive table. So the absolute risk of people not getting Montelukast to develop dengue shock syndrome is 31 over 100, 31%. Those who developed shock syndrome multiplied by total number of patients in the group, that is 31%. And those who were taking Montelukast, 9 developed dengue shock syndrome, 100 were the total number of students. So the relative frequency over here, or the risk of getting the DSS, is 9%. This can be calculated straight away. This shows relative risk. This is all SPSS can help you with as far as risk reduction is, risk calculation is concerned, and numbers needed to treat is concerned. From here, we have to go on manually. Manually, after calculating absolute risk from this table, we know it is 31% and 9%. We will minus that, subtract that, and get what? 0. Remember I said 31%, it is better in terms of research analysis to express percentages in decimals. 31% would be 0.31. 9% would be 0.09. If we minus them, we get 0.021, I think, 0.021 or 0.022. So 0.022 is your risk reduction, or 22% risk is reduced. 22% risk is reduced of getting dengue shock syndrome if you treat the patient with Montelukast. So we have this figure, 22% risk reduction. But traditionally, in international publications, we have to report something called numbers needed to treat. And that is simply 1 divided by absolute risk reduction. And 1 divided by 0.22 would come out to be 4.5 or 5 is our numbers needed to treat. What we interpret it as is as follows. So you will treat 4.5 patients or 5 patients of dengue with Montelukast and have at least 1 patient saved from dengue shock syndrome. So this is, then the next question comes, what is a good value of numbers needed to treat? Now for the kind of randomized controlled trials we do, this is a good number, because eventually when initial research by scientists yields positive results for randomized control trials, then you have pharmaceutical industry level randomized control trials where they will manage doses and they will manage maybe versions of the different drug, different modes, maybe injectable versus oral, and so forth and so on, and come up with the better numbers needed to treat. For our purposes, we can perhaps compare if there is another study reporting that they used, say, aspirin in order to reduce dengue shock syndrome, which is actually quite the opposite, but some drug X. And their numbers needed to treat was 7. And the one with Montelukast numbers needed to treat was 5. We can interpret that Montelukast is more effective. So NNT is basically used in relative terms in order to give us an answer. But at the same time, it's also subject to your research question. Now, dengue shock syndrome is a lethal condition, right? So we will accept even a bigger numbers needed to treat in order to save somebody from dengue shock syndrome, because we know Montelukast is like is being used within its recommended dosage. There is no harm anyways. So even if the numbers ready to treat was, I think, 10, it would still have been published because of the kind of research question you are asking. You can see my arrow moving. I've said Montelukast reduced the absolute and relative risk of GSS in treatment groups substantially by 22%. We already know that. And moreover, it was found that treatment of 5 patients with Montelukast rather than general supportive treatment alone would result in 1 less patient experiencing dengue shock syndrome. And that is the interpretation of numbers needed to treat.